All right, we got the boys from Muscadine Bloodline here. Long time no talk. I'm not bullshitting you guys though. I was just thinking about this before, and Wes, I think we were talking with an employee about this. It's been a few years now for Whiskey Riff, and the question we start to get a lot, whether it's an employee or just people we meet, they're like, who are some of your favorite people you've met? Who are your not so favorite people you've met over the years? And you guys always come up as some of the most like genuine, cool dudes that we've ever met, and you'd like humble but like fun and cool. So like, gotta tip my cap to you guys on that. Like, there's a lot of people.
Guys.
No, but honestly, there's a lot of not just duos, but there's a lot of artists in general or teams that don't have the success you guys have had without a major label that don't act the same way that we've seen. So props to you guys for doing it the right way. Just want to start with
man, we appreciate that. That means a lot, dude. And I mean, same goes to y'all guys. It's always like, it ain't a twist on our, like, we got a record coming up, so we've been, doing interviews and stuff, and like some of them are just, they get rough, and then it's like you see this one on the calendar, and you're just kind of like, oh, dude, heck yeah, we get to check in with the boys for an hour or so. So
you'll make it easy.
Yeah, so it's always cool.
Yeah, well, that's the goal.
It's just cool to see how y'all's things growing too. It's just like the more we play, the more we see the merch everywhere. So it's really cool.
And we have some cool news we'll share with you off camp or off when we finish. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
I think we've also had you guys. Is this the third or the fourth time? I don't even know.
It might be the fourth for real.
It might be our most
record,
our most visited guest, but it's also because you guys just are always busting your ass, and there's always something. You got a new album out.
That's true.
Every goddamn
It's not a
week.
3-year album cycle for us.
It's like.
I mean, yeah. You want to talk about that new album? It's coming out exactly or
week from
24th, right?
Yeah, so a week from tomorrow. Yeah, the record's called Teenage Dixie, and we've put out a few of the songs leading up to it, and it's a 16-song project, and I think it's just kind of the next part of the evolution of kind of Dispatch to 16th Ave was finding an identity, so to speak, sonically, and majority of just like Charlie and I just doing it ourselves and not. We want to get better as being songwriters on our own right, and just whether we were writing separately or together. And it's kind of like, okay, well, let's just kind of hone in and do Muscadine Bloodline. That's kind of where we've kind of landed. And honestly, guys, I think the attitude or whatever that, you talked about, it gets reciprocated because we're having so much fun now because it's a grind, obviously, but it's an enjoyable grind because at the end of the day, it's just Charlie and I, all right, let's make a record and go tour the thing. And it feels really good to see the music that we're really making right now is having the most impact. And that's exactly where we want to be. It's not like we used to be kind of shotgun approach and like, oh, let's try this. This is what I'm feeling. Was feeling something different last Tuesday than I am today. And we kind of really honed in like what our stamp kind of is. And so this record is just an evolution of the Dispatch sound. And honestly, I feel like this is kind of where we're staying. And
100%.
It's kind of where I just feel the most comfortable and it feels the most real and honest. And I don't know, I feel like I love it and I hope everybody else does. And how things have been, growing, we just like, we're starting to see sold out shows a lot more often, and this is kind of getting like, holy crap, like, and it feels weird because we're not doing anything different. Like it's still the same.
It's like this weird crux like that you're in, because it's like, from a listener perspective and like from a fan perspective, it's like it's the easiest our job's ever been, but it comes with the responsibility of being like, it's also the hardest time ever because we have these different set of challenges now. It's like, now it's not just like, oh my gosh, how do we get one more person to listen? Now it's like, how do we get thousands of people to listen? It's like, how do we elevate not just the music, but like we're trying to elevate our social media constantly. And like, I mean, we had the best year of our life last year. And it's what's good about us is we still have these like checks and balances meetings of like, hey, everything's great and that's good. Let's make sure we're like proud of you, but like, here's some things we can still crush and like get better at. So it's like, it's this strange, like really fun time in our career to where you're like, it's not challenges that you had 6 years ago, like 6 years ago, you're figuring out where you're just going to if you were going to be able to eat. And now,
Yeah. Or am
that
I going to
you're
wash
eating,
my face tonight?
yeah, exactly. It's like now that you're eating, you have like these different priorities and these different challenges that you have to keep navigating. And I feel like we, are getting better and better at just trying to get better,
Yeah. No, I mean, real quick, Wes, I mean, hearing you talk, that mirrors so much of our last year too. Like,
yeah.
they call it like we joke about like the 8-year overnight success type of thing. We had that moment
Yeah,
last
man.
year where we were just like, holy shit, we're making money. But it wasn't like boastful to each other. It was just like the build and the grind and like being tunnel vision was so strong that when the bigger things start happening, whether it's for you guys, maybe it's streams, but it's also obviously like financial and all that stuff, you're just kind of like, oh wait, whoa, this is kind of the same but different.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, but you want to keep that same like atmosphere of when you started, right? It's always like to keep that as a.
I totally resonate with that. We both do. It's kind of it's a weird thing because like we'll like. I do this often, and Charlie, I don't know how y'all's relationship is. Who's the half full, half empty, yin and yang kind of thing. But I'm definitely like, I'm gonna look at the one thing that was wrong, and it's like
That's me.
we like last week we were in South Dakota and Nebraska. We just played. We redid our whole set. It's completely different than anything we've ever done. And the shows were incredible. There's 1,000 people a night at least in these places we've never been to. And we're sitting here like, man, we got to sell. How do we sell more VIP experiences? And instead of just being like, and Charlie has to remind me often, it's like, hey man, first, before we address this, let's give each other a high five. And let's say like, this
like
is
we
really
worked
dope.
hard for this, but like,
Right.
I'm down to improve this, but like, let's just make sure we're like, holy shit, this is still awesome.
No, that's so spot on. We get like 2.5 million visitors a day in a day on the site. And we're like, man, that would have been nice if it was 3 million. It's like,
I wasn't at 3.
It's
like I always compare it to like
always fixated on
interest.
Yeah.
It's like compounding interest. Like in the beginning, it's like if you have $1 in the bank, the interest isn't going to be a lot. And then, if you have $200,000, dollar signs is the wrong thing. I don't want people to think I have like $200,000 in the bank, but
rocks.
But you guys get what I'm saying. It's like all the years of work you put in, like the interest, which is like the reward for all your business and your fans, is like it starts growing faster and faster. And so that's what's happening with us and y'all too, man. It's like, we've known from the beginning is like, hey, pretend like we ain't gonna get any help. And and sometimes we've been offered some help, but we're still like, we're good, man. So we're just ready to keep doing our thing, man. It's just control we can control.
Yeah, I mean, you know how we do when we get on this. We always start talking, and then we're way over here. The initial question was about the record.
Yeah,
but we're really excited about it. It's there's a lot of stories on here. There's pulling a lot from like a Steve Earle, Chris Knight. It's like it's a really cool mesh of like exactly what Charlie's influences are and mine. Like he loves the sing along, the 90s thing. That's like his jam. So it's like having that, and then I'm more of a fan of songwriters and concepts and those kind of things. And so it was a beautiful mesh of sonically, it's fun. There's even some songs on there that are almost dark, yet they're fun. And it's kind of a weird,
it's like depressing lyrics, but like, it's conveyed in a cool way.
And so like a lot of this record takes place in South Alabama. It's very geo-specific. We even tell folklore stories of different people that, are historically accurate, and some we embellished a little bit and those kind of things. And it was just like the most honest, like picturesque version of what we grew up in. And then the more we write, the more it just hones in even more of that. And it's really cool to, I think that's what people are wanting. Like everyone now is writing hit songs, and I think people just want depth. These are the guys who are, you see a band come out of nowhere, like, 49 Winchester and, Charles Wesley Godwin. And we have Cole Chaney on the road this week with us. And
just had him
you see these guys that are really just like doing their thing, and people are just kind of like really glomming on to that more so than I feel like a hit song now, because you get 3 hit songwriters in a room to write a song, they're going to write a awesome melody. And it's like, but at the same time, it's like, okay, how do we set ourselves apart
How
now?
is it different? You know,
And that's what we're the most excited about is seeing that. And like I said, it's being received so well that it's like the perfect storm of that. You talk about the 8-year buildup. It's like, what's happening? We're not doing anything different. Nothing has literally changed. It's just now just more people are here, and it's just been building to like kind of snowballing, which is awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of the dark storytelling, and like Inconvenience Store was one of the ones you guys just released fairly recently here. And
Mhm.
I was dying when you had that line about like, why did you say my name? So like,
Yeah.
it's like
it's
dark
clever,
and kind of heavy. Obviously there's an element of desperation that comes with like a robbery, but then just like a little bit of comedy in there.
right?
That's
Yeah.
just like, but
We
real
try to put a
life,
little
because I can
comic
imagine
relief
like
in it.
two idiots who don't know how to
When-
rob a store. Like,
Exactly.
When you say
Yeah,
like,
imagine doing that for the first time, you know?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was supposed to be. And I don't know where that came from, but when we started writing it, we were just like, man, this is something
It's
cool.
fun as shit.
And we
Right.
were just like, hadn't heard a conversation song in a while. And it's like, man, we're a duo. Like there's two of us. Like, let's talk.
Well,
And-
ironically too, like we thought we had finished the record before. Like it was 12 songs initially. And then like we finished this song and 90 in Pocket Full of 90s Country. And like we were like, damn, like these might be too good to leave off. Like I think we should go back and, you know, and we ultimately decided like, hey, let's go cut 4 more. So it just turned the record into like a monster record after we wrote those.
And I will say in the process of this record for the first time, like we usually, now we're kind of at a point where we don't have to worry about budget as much. And so it used to be like, okay, we got to do all the pre-pro ourselves and then go in the studio, execute it quick.
Nail it.
Get in
And
and
then
get out.
2 hours.
We kind of had the and then we kind of had the realization, it's like, man, like
It's backwards.
it's not it's like the songs are what gets people to the shows. And so let's take our time on this. Let's not get this done in a half day. So we recorded the whole record with the band and did like glorified the best demo version where like, okay, we're pretending this is the record. And then we did that for 3 weeks and then went home and stewed on it for 3 weeks and then came back and redid the whole thing and just kind of really just, you know, fine tuning every little nuance and that. And it was a process that was cool now because now we're really making records. It's not just like, here's 12 songs and we really liked at the time, let's do this. It's like, no, like we even recorded songs that we decided to not even do. And we did it away originally and just were like, hey, you know what? Let's try a different way. I think we can find a better way to do this. And there's a lot of that on this record.
because back in the day, you go in there and cut, you know, spend thousands of dollars to make music. It's like we got to put this out to make the money back. Like we can't just throw it away, you know. And I mean, we found out, and honestly too, I think another like hack for some of these songs was like we were like playing these songs live. We've learned over the years is another way that you get ideas on how you want to cut it. You know, it's like playing it with your band and like it's and like even singing it. You know, it's like you can sing it one way in the studio, but when there's 1,000 people there, you're something about it. It's just something about the energy. It makes you sing it differently. You know, and it's like a lot of times like we went back and changed a few melodies because of the way like I'd sang some things live and I was like, I love that. We need to change that, you know? So just goes into more of like the just taking our damn time, you know?
Do you guys have a band leader in the studio or is it like truly collaborative or does somebody?
I mean, it's pretty much Gary. Like Gary leads the band studio.
Yeah. I'm the guy who like after the song write, I'm going to go home and I'm going to dwell on it for
he hears it like Gary, he's so, I mean, I'm bragging on him, but like his brain is like so incredible because he can hear the song like done, you know, when we write it acoustic. I can't hear that shit. I just hear the vocal, you know, like that's what I'm good at. So like I just hear like the cool way to sing it and like a cool melody. And Gary's like, he's got it. I can see him doing it when we're writing, but it's like he's producing it in his head already. You know, he's like, I already know like what this sounds like. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I think it's great. Hopefully what your head is clanging around is awesome. And it usually is. So
yeah. And on this record was the first time too. Like how we usually go do a record is like Charlie and I will go in and I will lay down all the guitar stuff to a click track that I want. And so we were like puzzling it backwards. And this time we were like, hey, you know what? Let's go in with the band because you find little ideas and stuff. And
you don't pigeonhole yourself.
Right. And so, and we have the guys we play with us are so good. And get Weston, our guitar player, he's really a bluegrass flat picker. And I was like, man, like me just telling this guy who's way better than me a guitar
what to do.
Right.
It was
feels weird.
It was more of a collaborative thing this time. And it was kind of like, hey, like, go home with this and like come up with the part, make it intentional, make it yours, and have an identity in the song.
Put your stamp on.
And then these guys, like, they're gonna love it. It's their stuff, their parts they're playing that we play live, and so it just makes it really a band thing, which is I love the ideas of bands. It doesn't seem to work business wise when you have 6 people in there trying to figure out what to do, but when it comes to the records, like having them to be like, hey, we had this idea like before we'd even get in the studio, like the bassist and the drummer are like, hey, we had this idea, we wanted to, hate this, and if you hate it, it's obviously Charlie and I's final call, but this is like something we were thinking like the record could need or the record could have on it. And I was like, and a lot of times it was magic, and it was just really cool to see these guys work in that aspect, instead of just being like, okay, yeah, here's the chart you're playing, go ahead and play it just like this. And so really opened our eyes to a lot on how we continue to do things. And now we find ourselves playing songs we haven't even, gone and even thought about recording and sound check. And it's like, they're coming up with parts that I wasn't hearing when we first wrote it. And it's like, oh man, this is changing the whole landscape of this game, which is awesome.
It's awesome. And you mentioned, I think, no, I mean, and I assume every artist kind of says, oh, this is my best album, like when they put a new one out, but it sounds like you guys are really confident in that.
Conviction.
But you did mention, a little bit earlier, you said some people trying to help or whatever. We've always joked with you guys about the whole like major label thing. Have you guys mastered it so well, not having a label, that they have come, some have nibbled, some have offered, and you're just like, I don't see the value in this right now.
Well, the irony of it is like, once you read through the contract, like you're like, okay, you're offering me this some X amount of dollars to, make let's say 2 records or whatever. And it's like, we make this much money already. Like, it's like, we don't need the money, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we don't need to go make a $2 million record. It's like, why would we do that? It's like, we have our way that we like to do it. And like, not mentioning any label names, but it's like, there's been some nibbles, that trickle in every now and then, and they're names that you're like, holy shit, like that's cool. Like it's flattering, but like at the same time, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, you know how it is these days. It's like, we were fortunate enough, to have a song go off on TikTok with Me on You. And that was huge for us. And like, that's the power of the good side of social media. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But after that, it was like, people started seeing what was happening once that song came out. And then we were having A&R people from LA, New York City. They were all showing up to these shows. And it was honestly just like, they would get in touch with our manager and they'd be like, the guys don't want to meet or have a steak dinner, send them a deal. And
yeah, Adam would literally tell them that.
And they would be like, well, this is very unconventional how this goes. And they're like, well, these guys just aren't looking for it. So you called us. So
it is actually hilarious. He's like, yeah, so-and-so from this XYZ label called, and like, and I told
him
reservations. Yeah. He's like, I told them that like, y'all don't give a shit, but like, they still want to meet you. So like, can they just come meet? Like, yeah, sure. Like, we'll say hey to them or whatever. And then like the guys are always like, cool, man, like y'all are great. Yeah. And then it's just never is a thing. But
yeah, it's like, we're kind of coming up to this point. It's like, man, we have a gold record and about to have another one. And it's like,
right.
These are things. And like, Portraying Angel is going to be platinum within a year. And it's like, it's just crazy to think like, and that's never been like, it's never been playlisted, never been on radio, never. It's just the pure war of attrition too. It's just stick to your guns and that. And it's kind of like, it's not even a thought. like we don't even have a conversation about. We used to have the like, well, what if something happened? It's just like, one, candidly, it's just we make enough, and it's like, and it just keeps getting more. So it's like, man, let's just do this and own it all, and then when we're 40, let's just sell the catalog for an ungodly amount and just call it a day. Like,
or it's like you just wait, and you got to get floored. It's like I had a baseball question we'll get to later, but you talk about like trades and stuff in sports too. It's like, hey, blow me, like this guy's untouchable, kind of, yes, but hey,
everyone's got a price, right?
Everybody's got a price. But it's like, if you do your thing and kind of stick to it, I feel like a couple guys have kind of seemingly done it the right way when they did go to, like, Cody Johnson, right? Kind of kept all creative control, probably,
right?
I think this is similar, like, so there probably are ways to maneuver it.
I think the difference in those guys is that they wanted a deal. Like, Co will straight up tell you, his manager would tell you, like, we want a deal. Like, we're not sitting here trying to be like stubborn. Like, I mean, we are, like we are stubborn. There's plenty of artists out there that like, and I think those guys like have this weird like leg up because they still like appear that they don't have a label in a weird way, Like, like all those guys, they don't act like they have a deal, but like they do, so it's like, it's cool to see, I mean, Co, obviously you can't deny what he's doing. Like, I think Co is talented enough. He would have been where he's at anyway, but like, that's just me. I don't know really what the label has done for them. It appears that it's working with relationships and stuff.
Yeah. He's got a little bit of that. You mentioned, what did you say earlier? Like that depressing, but like a little humor kind of mixed in there.
He does.
Like,
he does.
And he gets bubbled into that country category, which he's really obviously not.
He's really not at all. Like,
but that, it sounds like he is putting out that country album. He's working with Wade Bowen and some of those guys.
I noticed that. I saw him in the studio with some of all those Texas guys, and it's like, okay, this is cool to see.
But you guys have like Texas fans, which is
awesome. You guys do really well there, right?
Yeah.
Texas is so
for them to like bring in somebody not from there and accept, hey, yeah, we like this. I feel like you don't hear about that very often, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll show up to a lot of these big festivals out there, and we're the only band that's not from Texas. But you wouldn't know it, like, by the fan base. It's just, I think it's not even like a geographical thing anymore. It's just like how we move, and how those guys move.
There's something about it, like the indie thing definitely helps. Like, I mean, they love the fact that, people come up to us every night and they're like, man, don't change. Like, y'all are doing the right thing, or whatever. But yeah, Texas is insane, man. Those fans are just rabid, bro. And they just are just in tune differently, man. Like, they just are the pioneers of finding, like, they want to find the new thing, and that's how we are too. Like, we grew up and I wanted to show people new artists, and that's how they are. They want to get you when you're early, they want you to come to their little podunk town. And in the beginning you will, but now it's like not as practical to go to the podunks. You go to like 5 cities in Texas now,
and you spend 3 weeks driving across it.
And too, it's like we've actually started to kind of dial back how much we tour very intentional. We got to a point where, because we own our music, we make like a lot. The reality is a lot of these guys play 120, 150 day tours just because that's where they make money. So it's like, go get it. I get it. But it's like, for us, like, we make more on the music than we do on touring, and our touring revenue is great. Wow. But it's like, we got to a point where we could put all our guys on salary. So they don't care if we play 30 shows or 150 shows. Yeah. So it's like, so we always knew like that was a goal to be able to get the guys in a bus, get them on salary, and then we can kind of move how we want to move. And
like, I think we're playing like just under 70 this year.
Yeah. So it's not a big, and in our fall tour, we're only going to do Friday and Saturday nights. And so it was just kind of this thing where we're like, man, like, we spend so much spinning the wheels, being tired all the time, being gone 5 days a week. And then it's like, where we fall on is like, now we can't spend the time on what really makes the most money on us, and it makes your drive. And then it makes the shows better when you can just focus on the creative aspect. That's that's what we had to realize, because at first you're just trying to survive. And now we've gotten to a point where we're past that. We're making money. Our band's making money. We're making money on music. We're making money touring. So it's like, okay, there's only so much time in the day. So how can we allocate it to where we're moving the way we can properly, and also having some time off to just live life and get creative and honestly just be a good husband and those kind of things. That's where our kind of priorities are. And
play some golf and hunt.
Yeah. And
I was going to say, get some turkeys.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, like we're not touring all spring because of turkey season. And it's like, and that's something we can do. And so it's like, it's just really, to me, it's not really about, breaking records and stuff. It's just about making really great records. Like it's making really great records, going out and touring and just having a good time with your buddy. And so we're the happiest we've ever been. And it's like, man, let's not put a cog in the system to like mess a good thing up right now. And so we're just going to see this thing through and see, I mean, we're only 8 years into this thing, which feels like a long time, but it's like you said, it's just starting to catch steam. So it's like, imagine where it's going to be in 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, in reality, It's like we're 30. So like, it feel like, to me, I feel older than I have been, obviously, but it's like in the scope of artistry, it's like, I mean, dude,
30 more years.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the crazy thing is like even 10 more years is like a long ass time in this business. Like it's a long time, 18-year career is long.
I know you see, you're talking about like the amount of dates, and I mean, he seems like a nice guy, but like Luke Bryan or some of these guys, like they tour so much, and fans usually don't know how old some of these like mainstream stars are. Luke Bryan's like in his mid 40s.
45.
Well, Luke Bryan didn't even like break until he was like 38 years old.
Yeah,
it's like,
and then it's like, oh, just do 280 dates, and I'll just keep doing my like singing about. I'm a dad with. My kids are like teenagers and I'm still singing about spring break, and it's like, oh, fuck it, I'll just go.
Dude, those guys,
cashing those $1 million checks.
we always talk about that. It's like those guys have a different, I mean, the amount of like work they do is insane. I mean, I mean, this sounds bad, but it's like, I don't want to work.
I don't want to be that famous.
Dude. Like,
that makes total sense to me. It's like, you can be more, like you can earn and make what you want to make without like having to go to like the depths of
end
hell,
of the earth,
to make it yourself. Oh, because then was that really that enjoyable? After the fact, right? When you're I mean, when Garth was like, I'm coming to Vegas, baby, and he's like, the tickets won't be that expensive.
Your boat's a little nicer, but you don't get to spend any fucking time on it. Like,
you're right, man. I mean, that's the reality. It's kind of like, I have this dream of aspirations of like us building this thing, and when like we turn 40, we're like, do you want to do this anymore? Like, we can call it quits. We've had this awesome time. We've got money invested. We have different businesses. We have all this stuff. It's like, is a difference. I'm kind of intrigued about too, like going out on top instead of like being a legacy act that's just like out there still trying to just make money. It's like, man, like
everybody's like, yeesh, bro. What are they doing?
Just quit while you're ahead.
Oh, I mean, there's some artists
playing the 2 p.m. slot at the Iowa County Fair.
Well, that's so weird to me.
When you're 60,
when there's like when there's like legend, I get it. You still want to make some money. You still want to tour, but there's like, a lot of these artists, I want like 90s legends and stuff, and they're still out there doing it. But they went from being a superstar, say like in the 90s, early 2000s, and then now they like open for like a Brantley Gilbert show or something. You're like, well, that's like a weird. I don't know how I would feel about that. It's just
I would feel strange. It's a pride
weird
thing. You would have to be okay with it, like pride wise. But I'm sure
if
there's
anything,
a lot
you
of
just do those small acoustic type of shows and.
And that's the thing too. It's like it's
here and there if you're itching, but
it'd be awesome to just be like, if we were sitting in the house and we were a couple years removed from this thing, it's like, dude, you want to go out and do a run? This would be fun.
We could go do 30 days.
Let's go do it. If you want to put out a record, let's start writing one.
We probably will do that.
Yeah.
That's just being artists. Like, you're always going to have that itch, always going to have the bug.
The crazy thing is, like, you think about it, it's like by the time we're 40, we'll be almost 20 years into this thing. And it's like, man, that's a long time. That's a long time. That's we'd been at that point, we'd been doing it more than we hadn't been doing it. And it's like, that's in your lifetime, and you start looking at it, it's like, dang, that's a really cool career. And so I mean, like I said, it's like, if it's fiscally irresponsible for us to be like, we finally make it to, arenas independently, and we're like, nope, see y'all later. We had fun.
Deuces.
It was a good time. But
You ride the wheels a little bit till they
Yeah.
but it's like,
As long as
I
it's
think
going
there's
like this.
yeah, exactly.
right. But it's I think of, like Turnpike. Like, we've been on a lot of these Turnpike shows, and it's insane to me that it's like they announce we're playing with them in Tulsa 2 nights, and the shows are sold out.
What was that called? Like? What was that
The
called?
BOK
Arena
or whatever.
or whatever, something like that. And it's like, and those guys are great. They're super cool, and it's just cool to see them back and the resurgence that they've had.
It's bonkers.
But it's like, they kind of fell off the earth for a couple years, and then out of nowhere, it's like, in that time, Tyler Childers takes off. A guy like Zach Bryan takes off.
Mhm.
Turnpike comes back, and it's like
They're
it was
heroes.
tailor made for it. And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
it's cool to kind of see how that's really, and getting to be a part of those shows is awesome too. But it's like, man, these guys haven't put out a new record in daggum 4 years, and
Yeah.
they're selling 30,000 tickets in one town. You're just like, what the heck's going on? It's insane.
What was it like getting the call from them, or like how did that come about? Because I mean, that seems like such a. If I was in your shoes, I would be like, "Holy shit, this is great."
Yeah, we honestly were, and we have the same booking agent too. We moved booking agents.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We're at Red 11 now, and John Folk is our RA there, and he also does Turnpike. So there is a connection there
In the family
but,
type deal.
They kind of have the artists that we're getting to open for. It's kind of like we've been offered some tours and that kind of thing, but we're just like, man, it's just not a fit. And it's a big artist, and it's like, it's just not where we want to be. It's like, man, I really want to open for, Eric Church and Turnpike and Chris Stapleton. That's like who I would want to, but, and it's like, we're already getting to open up for 2 of those guys.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, this is insane. And they also have, they are more so like have the fan base and the brand where, like, if they take you under their wing, like, they're fans. And also too, it's like they appreciate what we're doing. They don't just have anybody open for them. It's not just a label made.
You get that
It's not-
stamp of approval from
Right,
Eric
so,
Church.
like-
It's like, it's a dope thing for you as
Yeah.
well,
So, but we got a lot of shows with Turnpike this year, and they're just super nice guys.
Just normal as shit.
Yeah,
bro.
like you would never, like, they don't even have a tour bus. They just like they have a couple 18-wheelers and
they jet in
they jet
everywhere,
in
boys.
everywhere, and then they just go play the show and go home, go back.
They got that
fishing.
jet in money.
Yeah.
Hey, they jet in and jet out every night, bro.
Yeah.
It's tight.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, they don't even have to have a tour bus.
Yeah, they don't even have a damn bus lease, bro. It's crazy.
Jeez. I didn't know they
it's-
were on
it's awesome to
that,
see.
man.
Yeah. As fans of Turnpike, like,
they
it's
just
crazy.
come back and are jetting in.
Dude. I mean, they're massive, bro. Like, they're doing some crazy numbers. It's insane.
Oh yeah, when we were
Absence
posting all
makes the
that,
heart grow fonder, man.
I mean, we posted so many stories as like Evan started kind of popping back up when he was doing a lot of stuff, kind of out on the ranch. I think was one of the first ones.
Yeah, he was down in Texas.
You could just feel the excitement level. People started going like, "Holy
Oh,
shit,
yeah.
he looks great!" People were so excited, and so that's awesome. Real quick,
And he's just like all of them, dude. They're just so kind. Like,
They are.
we kind of
we
had
had
like,
a couple.
Yeah,
We had a
okay.
couple of them on, and I'm trying to recall. It was 2 of the band members, or it was
yeah,
a while
we had
back.
Hank and RC on.
RC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, we were kind of like, they, obviously with, Evan saying coming back and everything, it's like, they keep it pretty tight backstage. And we have the mindset of like, hey, we're just happy and glad to be here. And so we will stay out of the way and do whatever. And we were at first show, we were at catering, and we'd been told, it's like, you don't talk to them, you don't have drinks back here, you don't, and it's just like what it was. And then
Makes sense,
we
yeah.
we go to sit down at catering, and then the whole band just sits around me, and it's just like, hey, what's
Like, what up?
what's up,
Yeah.
dudes? Like,
Mhm.
oh, what part of, Alabama are you from? Like that kind of, and it was just like, and then they go play the show and just leave, and you're just like, and they were just the coolest. That's
Nice.
simple. I was like, man, dude, it's like, that's what I aspire for, or whatever. It's like, and then them just like, coming up. I mean, they're our heroes. And so it's like, for them to be like, man, we're so happy to have y'all, and y'all are killing it, that kind of thing. It's like it's just really cool to get that stamp of approval of people you think so highly of.
Yeah. And they're not gonna pick you if they don't love your music. You gotta kind of like know that, that's gotta feel good. Even if they don't say it. But to that point, the Eric Church new tour, you're gonna open some of those shows, and I thought that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen make a mainstream guy of that stature do. Like if you look at all of the openers on that tour, you got Cody,
like
James,
20 of them.
And a lot of them are they're not the who you would, the label probably wants, they want them, hey, help out the label mates, help out the mainstream, whatever. But
for sure.
Have you met him before? And two, just how excited are you for that environment?
Well, I mean,
and kind of seeing how he does things.
Yeah, Eric Church is like a goat to me. And ironically, Travis Tritt is opening the show too. So two of my goats, my personal goats are gonna be I'm opening for at once. So I'm like, I don't know. It's it's one of those weird things. I've heard nothing but obviously I've heard Eric Church is cool as shit, But there's always that little weird. We were just talking about this earlier. It's there's that weird thing in you that you're I just hope I hope he's everything I hope he was.
Don't meet your heroes kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I'm sure. I don't even know if we'll get an opportunity to meet them. Usually guys like that, like you said, they just jet in and leave and go back to their family or whatever. But I would love to get a freaking picture with him at least, just to show my kids,
Yeah. It was kind of like our band when he told us. It was kind of just nonchalant. He's like, "Oh yeah, shoot, I forgot." You are doing some Eric Church dates this summer, and we were like, "Wait, what?"
Wait, what?
And so it was just it was so cool. And then honestly, we were excited, but I think all of our friends and stuff, and
for sure,
people we grew up with were like, "What the heck?" This is such a cool thing.
That's one of those announcements, where people you ain't talked to in 10 years hit you up, and you're like, hey man, what's up? Dude, it's church is crazy.
What's the guest list like? For the show?
Can we get some tickets, bro?
Hell no.
Fuck you.
Yeah, you don't want to overstep.
No,
overstep
bro.
and have too many people there.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
Hell no.
My
wife even bought tickets. I was like, I guarantee you'd have been fine. I could have got you. She was like, no, I want to watch.
I heard.
I want to watch out in the crowd.
I did hear. I don't know if it was Parker West or who it was, but he had an opener, and he seems to do a really good job to meet the opener, especially if it's younger guys.
I think Parker said that.
He was the coolest, nicest guy I've ever met, or some shit. Or
made time with everybody who opened the show, and
hell yeah,
super professional gentleman throughout.
That goes. I think that goes a long way. I'm not saying I'm gonna lose. He's not gonna lose. Points for me if I don't meet him, but in our career coming up, it's we've been fortunate enough to open for some of the coolest artists, and so, and they've all just treated us like family, and I just think it's weird to me to hear stories of artists that don't do that. That's strange to me, it's oh yeah, I heard this guy's a dick and won't take pictures or whatever. And I'm like, that's weird. Why would you even have someone out you didn't want to potentially hang with, that's,
and you never know. He seems very open to writing with, I don't know if this is still the case, but in Nashville, there seems to be the group where big artists writes with these few people.
They find their
all
crew
the time, right?
Yeah.
Eric seems to, you see him sometimes popping up on these rights, and you're like, oh, that's he's writing with a superstar, he's writing with this.
Miranda.
So who knows, man? Maybe he meets you and
you get into the fold.
He likes your music, and then he goes, "Hey,
I would write with
let's start
Church
writing or something." It's there's a lot of those similarities with some of the songs. I see a lot of the similarities, honestly. With he gets wacky in a good way, right?
He does.
He tries shit, and you're just like, "Whoa, this is kind of strange." And
I know you sometimes
cool,
listen to a few even when the Desperate Man came out, it took me three listens to be like, this record's incredible.
Yeah, because you hear it the first time and it's so different. It's always different from the last thing,
Right.
And you're like, I don't know if I love this. Yeah. And then the more you hear it, you're like, holy shit.
We all fell in love with him at, Sinners Like Me and Chief, and you go listen to those records and you're like, God, was every one of these songs a number one?
Right. And not that many were.
And
not that many at all.
And it's you go, Ashley and I, like, once it happened, I was like, man, we ought to just listen to a church record in celebration. And I put on the Chief record, and I was like, and we're both singing every song. I was just like, golly, he was and is such a legend. So it's like, it's cool to, like I said, it's just one of those things where it's like, regardless if anything comes over, if you meet him, right, whatever.
Yeah, we don't need anything from him. It's like, if you get to do it, it's cool.
And it's like, you get to, you still, like, no one gets to take away from you. I mean, knock on wood, the shows happen, and we don't have another global pandemic or something that we can't do it. But we could at least, no one can take that away from you. Like, you can be like, yeah, dude, I got to play a show with him one time. It was really cool.
Yeah. Real quick, I mentioned bass. Oh, go ahead, Wes. Sorry.
I was gonna say we went to the Whiskey Myers opening for the Rolling Stones at Soldier Field here in Chicago.
I bet that was sick.
A few years back, and they were like, one picture, and you can't share it anywhere. Like, you can take a picture with the whole band. So
that was Rolling Stones told Whiskey Myers, right?
Rolling Stones
still
told Whiskey
worth
Myers.
it. Still worth it.
And they ended up being able to share it, I think, later or did and didn't give a shit. But like 3 years later, they shared it, but on Instagram, like, hey, remember this time?
At that stage, and how big you are and the legends, it's like, are you worried about how you guys are looking on a picture backstage at Soldier Field? It's like, come on, but
like, you're literally the Rolling Stones. Like, who cares?
Right.
We know you look like shit now.
Yeah,
exactly.
You guys partied harder than everybody. So
oh my god, and you're still kicking. I mentioned baseball earlier, and Charlie, you got the Braves hat. So Wes and I are huge Cubs fans, and so we got Dansby Swanson now as our shortstop. Was that heartbreaking, or is that like another like Freddie Freeman? Like, it sucks for a second, but you guys have such good farm system, and you're
I mean, I think if we didn't know that we didn't have like this Vaughn Grisham kid coming up, that, like, I like you said, everyone knows the Braves have a great farm team, and like Alex Anthopoulos, like, I mean, when he won the World Series, like, everybody was like, how did he do that? Like, and I still don't know how he did it. It's like, that was crazy. And we just have a lot of good prospects, and like Freddie, it's like, maybe we could have kept him if like the agent thing worked out or whatever. Like, we probably could have kept him, but it's like, still feels good to know that you're like bringing in guys similarly as productive. And I mean, not Matt Olson's not Freddie Freeman, but like, he's still very productive and younger than Freddie Freeman. And it's like, dude, like, it's just a part of the game. It's like, you can't keep every player. Like, you just can't.
I even remember telling Charlie, like, mid-season, I was like, once Grisham got called up because Albies was hurt, and so I was like, because he can play anywhere in the middle field. He's so good, but he's like, he doesn't look like a shortstop because he's like 6'5" or like 6'4". He's a big dude. But I remember I was like, Charlie, I think Albies or Dansby's going because this guy's got to play. And then it just worked out. And I think the Braves.
I think the Cubs is a good spot for Dansby, though.
Yeah, and I don't know if remember when he was talking about too, like ironically, we got a lot of Cubs fans where we're from because when you had basic cable,
WGN.
you had WGN.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of people were watching the Cubs too. And so it was cool to see his, like, when he went to the Cubs, he was like talking about him and his grandfather, like watching Cubs games during the day and stuff. And it's like, he's like, man, if I can't be in Atlanta, like, this is where I want to be. So
dude, Chicago is dope, bro. Yeah. Like, if I'm Dansby Swanson, like, obviously you're sad, like, the first team, like, you spent a lot of time there. It's like, yeah, you're sad, but one, he just got a baggie.
Yeah.
And he's still going to be playing for, like, arguably America's team, so it's like, hey, still pretty dope.
And he won a World Series, so it's like, the reality is like the Braves aren't the Yankees, and so like they don't have the money, so it's like Braves kind of have to take a thing to where it's like, if they're going to make money as a club, it's like, okay, we won a World Series, now we got to rebuild for the next, like, a Braves organization is not expecting a World Series after a World Series like the Yankees or the Red Sox or LA would. It's like, so they got to go back and say, okay, back to the drawing board. We can sell off some of these players, make some money, and we got this farm team. And so it's like, and then we'll just rebuild again and hopefully make the playoffs, every year. But it's like, the reality is you're working for that, World Series championship in the next 5 to 6 years.
Of course, it is scary that like the Phillies are good now. So you're like, shit, well, got to get over that hump,
Was it Acuna that got injured and then they won? Who was the guy?
Yeah, so Ronald Acuna, he tore his ACL, and like he was supposed to be like the MVP that season, and So we lost our best player in one. So it was
Right,
like,
and
holy
that's
shit.
so that's the one of my best friends likes to gamble, and he actually, as soon as the injury was announced, he went and put thousands on the Braves to win the World Series on DraftKings. I
Are you
think.
serious?
Yeah,
Because
and that payout. I think that payout was like.
and
Yeah. That was when Alex Anthopoulos made like.
I think that payout was like it was like a
and Jock Peterson came in. Yeah.
20x payout or something like that. Like it
Oh
was,
my gosh.
yeah.
I saw a bunch of
it's
people
just-
putting money on like Acuna to be the National League MVP next year.
Yeah.
Like a futures bet on that. I'm like, hey, I hope that would be sick.
I just saw a guy bet. Oh my God, what was the number? Like $1. So he picked every
every champion or whatever.
No, he picked every preseason NFL like award for player of the or like
And they like
MVP,
offensive, defensive, rookie of the year. This he hit every single one. The payout would have been, I think, $1 million, and he put like dollars on it because it's so far fetched because you're just picking like
it's like, oh,
rookies.
maybe
Hail Mary.
The only one he lost was offensive rookie of the year, and I think he picked Olave or Olave, how do you pronounce it?
Olave, yeah.
The Saints wide receiver.
Damn,
Holy
that's
fuck.
crazy.
That is crazy.
And you can't, like you say, you can't hedge that bet. You know, it's just like you're just waiting for it.
Dude, during the height of college football, like we're all on DraftKings and we do that. Like, but we were doing a bus bet every week, so we'd all collectively like find a game and then we'd all watch it together. And then
you get a little skin in the game, makes it a little more fun.
Yeah, so like the whole game, we got guys who don't give a rip about college football, but like now we're in here watching a Big Ten game or
like
yeah, you're just like, and we're all like in on it.
Like Penn State -3.
My wife, right? We went to DePaul. We went to DePaul, like in Chicago. Terrible basketball team, but I'll be like screaming. It's like bedtime, but I'm in the garage, put the garage TV on, and I'm screaming. I'm watching like Clemson and Virginia Tech
like
college basketball, screaming. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
These guys are bums.
And you're just like, I've bet on the most random ass, like sometimes you'll get like on Fox Sports, I think FSN or whatever it's called, like a cricket match. I'm just like, I'm bored. I don't even know the rules.
Well, and then you realize cricket lasts like 3 days in India, and you're like, "What the fuck? Like, why is this not paid out yet?"
For 3 days.
Yeah, I'm not. I was going
Chinese basketball league.
Yeah, I got on a tear on doing like play bets or whatever for like, especially during.
He was doing like.
Oh, Westy mentioned that.
Yeah.
Westy mentioned that.
Especially during in the World Series, I was just like, and I just be on that like. My wife's laying on the couch. I'm like rubbing her head while she's sleeping, and I'm watching it. And it's every play. I'm like, all right, next pitch ball, next pitch strike, next pitch.
And it's like throwing money.
It's complete luck. It's like it's
flipping a coin
luck in a sense.
Yeah,
but it's fun when you hit those, right? It's like I'm trying to think. Oh, March Madness is going to be here soon. Like I had some crazy ones last year, but I don't really follow college basketball the same way I follow.
College football,
like college football, nowhere near as far as like baseball, and then the NFL, of course, and then the NBA is such a annoying one for me because like nobody plays defense anymore, so you just see these like point totals, and you're like,
that's the hard thing doing.
You're like 239, that's a lot, and then the final score is like over 280. You're like
140 to 140.
And just like spread betting the NBA is like, it's just so hard, man.
Oh, LeBron's not playing. Why? Because he was at the Super Bowl. That's why.
It's like you got to do like prop bets and stuff in the NBA.
Yeah. I just like betting on sports that I actually like watching.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like it's either baseball or football. And I do love college basketball. Like, I mean, we're Auburn fans, and last year they were pretty good. They're not so great this year, but we still follow closely. But pretty much besides Auburn basketball and Southern Miss basketball,
I don't watch that. Like, I don't just like spam watch it. Like, I watch my teams, but I'm not like the biggest college basketball fan except my team,
Right.
You guys you're Auburn, but I think you told me a few years back that you still kind of root for Bama as well. Like if they're doing well,
not anymore. I told you that. That was a damn lie.
My wife's a Bama grad. Maybe that's what you heard.
Yeah. Okay, I was just curious about.
I will say this.
Oh, they just lost last night, right? To Tennessee in basketball.
They did.
Yeah. I actually put a little money on Bama. Like I was like, they cover for sure.
Yeah, I did. Ashley and I, we went to dinner before our bus left last night, and we just we ended up at this place called Corner Pub in Nashville, and then worst decision ever because it was all just Tennessee fans. And they're like, I used to think Bama fans were the worst, but like now that Tennessee had a great year in football, it's like, where'd all this Tennessee orange come from? Like we hadn't seen it in forever. And then they win the game. And I did find myself honestly, like pulling a little bit for Alabama in the game. But like, as soon as the game won, they cranked the speakers and the whole restaurant's doing the Rocky Top chant. And I'm just like, dude, I can't stand these guys
out of here
or whatever. So, but yeah, I don't tend to. I smile a little bit inside though when Alabama loses for sure.
Fair.
Yeah.
But they're good at everything. That's just what it is.
Saban, I mean, he's not going to coach forever, right?
Yeah,
So he's got to be figuring out who's gonna be next. And Wes, as a Bears fan, you might get what's this? Will Anderson? Is that the
Bryce?
guy?
Yeah, Will Anderson.
Oh, you talking about
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm hoping the Titans trade up is still the number one pick to get Bryce Young, dude.
They might.
That's the best. And we have Matt Miller around, who's, I don't know if you guys know who that is. He's like in the ESPN college stuff. We're gonna have him on for the draft. We get pretty nerdy about this stuff now.
Yeah.
But they were just talking about Bryce Young, how small he was. They just did like the measurements ahead of everything. He's like 5'10", 180. I think I saw.
About
I'm like,
me.
that's imagine Wes lining up behind center.
Yeah.
For real, man. It's not 5'10".
Yeah, he's a little fellow, but I mean,
But Drew Brees
Bama
was small.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and Kyler Murray's had some good years too, and he's tiny. Like he's
But
on a depth chart.
he
He's
seems like a
5'9",
dickhead.
but you're like,
but-
dude, this guy's got to be like 5'7".
There's no way.
They always had 2
5'9".
inches at the depth chart, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, dude. 5'9" in cleats, bro.
Have you, Steve, since you moved to Colorado, have you kind of become a pseudo Broncos fan too? Or are you still just diehard?
No, you know what's funny? I pay attention because I'm like, I get always curious about growing up. I listen to like sports radio a lot. My dad's truck going to like help him do shit. And so I was like, I'm always curious how other markets talk about their teams. Because I had to explain to him, I was like, every place you go, everybody's just angry. Like they just talk shit and like wrong moves and this and that. So the Hackett thing was so funny because I kind of followed it from the beginning. They hire him and it was just a disaster. It was just so bad. And the stories were all about like Russell Wilson needs this like personal office and he has these weird guys like hanging around. And but I got into like paying attention to it. But I was like, this seems off. And then I started paying more attention to the Seattle guys talking about Russell Wilson, how weird he is and all this shit, all these stories.
He's like the cringiest guy.
Yeah.
Dude, like one guy came on, he goes, I was in the room. He goes, they'll do like a Saturday night team meeting type of thing before the game on Sunday or whatever. And like Russell will get up to talk and he's like, half of the players sitting are literally like shaking laughing because it's so like fake. So you're just like, damn. So I just didn't have a good feeling. I almost got my son. I was like I'm gonna get a little Broncos jersey because they have you go to Target even, they like, it's everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
And then I started singing. I was like, oh, fuck this. Well, I'm actually a Vikings fan. It's random as hell, but because of Randy Moss when he got drafted. So like that's the most money I lost on a game all year was the Vikings Giants playoff game. I put money on the Vikings, but Sean Payton coming to the Broncos. Now I'm kind of more interested again to pay attention. It's gonna be
I was curious about
it's
that
gonna be
too.
well run. It's gonna be well run.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be sick.
Well,
honestly.
see, we kind of like we're in Mobile. Like Alabama's different because like we don't have a pro team. So like it's literally like there's a line and like that cuts diagonally across it like Montgomery. And so like north of Montgomery is Atlanta Falcons fans and south of Montgomery are Saints fans. So we kind of grew up like I'm not going to sit here and be like I was a diehard Saints fan, but like the game's on Sundays and I mean Mobile's an hour and a half from New Orleans and so it's like okay. And then the year they won the Super Bowl, I was like a junior in high school, so I remember everyone was so hyped about that. But I mean now they just I think you're just because I wasn't a diehard Saints fan. Now that we're like in Nashville, it's like okay, well, we gotta
adopt the Titans.
Yeah,
we adopted for sure. I'm sick for it.
That was me too. Like I grew up in the top left-hand corner of Indiana, right by Lake Michigan, right there.
Uh-huh.
So we got all of the Chicago channels. So it's Northwest Indiana is all Bears fans.
Yeah.
But the rest of Indiana is all Colts fans. Like literally just that little tick in that corner. And that's but yeah, I'm excited for baseball though.
Yeah, we are too.
I'm excited for spring training to be like over though. Like I mean, I know it hasn't started, but it's like I want the real shit. Like the lead up.
Yeah.
I hate the lead up. Like I hate exhibition games. I hate that shit.
Schedule some shows down in Arizona during spring training, and
I mean,
check out some games. It's fun. We went
we
down there.
We are going to announce a bunch more shows, so we're gonna be playing a lot of fucking cool places we haven't played. So
yeah. What do you guys got kind of going on this year? Like, what's the rest of the year look like after the release?
Before we let you go,
fine. What we know of, that's for sure. And I wish I know a little bit more about where we're going after, because we end. Actually, that shows with Turnpike. We're done first week of April till June, but we're actually doing a West Coast run tour this year.
Nice.
We've been out there, but opening and done some festivals. But we're actually doing starting in. I think it starts in San Diego and it goes all the way up to Seattle and some Idaho in there. I think Montana. I think maybe Salt Lake.
Just trying to hit a bunch of stuff we haven't hit, man.
And we don't know, we don't know what it's like. And we're at that point now. It's like that. And there was talks. I don't know for sure if it's happening in the fall, but we definitely are going up East Coast. We haven't been there in a while to do like the New England stuff. And there was talk. This is not true, but I know our management stuff was talking about dipping into Canada.
We had a fan ask if you're going across the pond to UK. The fan questions.
That's probably not this year.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of like.
Your sound would work there. They like the
Like, and we have fans there who are like asking us when are we coming and that sort of thing. But I think we're trying to kind of get let's create the stronghold here. I mean, because we still got some work to do in the greater 48, and we used to not go to these. The reason why we really hadn't gone there, before is like one, when you're in a sprinter, it's just impossible. And then once you're out there, it's like you got to stay out there. It's not go play Thursday, Friday, Saturday in California and then come back to the house and go pick up where you left off. So I think we're doing like a 2-week run out there, and I think it's either like 8 or 9 shows, I think, in like 15 days. So it's spread out a little bit, cut a day off here and there, but we're just like, man, while we're out there, it's like we need to go ahead and get after it. And since we're there, it just makes the most sense. So
yeah, you could play Torrey Pines or something,
Yeah. So, but we're excited to go out there, and it was just the funnest part, I think, of touring is going to new places that you've never been, and you're like, I wonder what it's going to be like. And a lot of times it'll surprise you, and then or you'll have one. It's like, hey, this is one we need to invest in, and we got some work to do here, So, or there might be, this is a place we're never coming back to again. But
well, boys, that was a quick over an hour almost.
Yeah.
Always with you guys, it's quick, but we're excited for the new album. We're going to share the hell out of it, of course, and
thanks, we appreciate you guys.
Can't wait to see you in person again soon and hang out.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, we need to. Next time we're close to you guys, hit us up.
I do think
we'll be paying attention.
We do have, I think, a Chicago show this summer, and
100%.
And then I don't know, because we did do Colorado at the very end of the year with Jason Boland. But those shows were great.
I imagine we'll be back close to Denver, at least somewhere.
We got to be somewhere out there.
Yeah, we'll be on the lookout for sure.
So, well, yeah, boys, we appreciate y'all's time once again.
It's always a good hang, boys.
Yeah, always good. You're right. It always goes by too quick. You're like, oh, that was an hour.
We're good. We're all good.
Yeah. No, you're the easiest ever. You're the easiest ever to talk to. So appreciate it, guys.